7 o'clock. Call the meeting, November 6th meeting of the Toledo Village Board to order. Roll call.
Ingram.
Yes.
Long.
Yes.
Ida.
Yes.
Markwell.
Yes.
St. John.
Yes.
Stoltz.
Yes.
Please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Public hearing is the next item on the agenda. Petition to vacate 2 alleys.
Is there anybody present to testify in support of the petition? I'm gonna probably call you Jordan. Raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Please state your full name.
Jordan Harper,
Where are you currently employed?
Village of Toledo,
What is your position?
Utility Superintendent,
How long have you served in that role?
2 years.
Could you give a brief description of your job duties?
To maintain the utilities of the Village of Toledo.
Are you familiar with the alleys which are the subject of tonight's petition and public hearing?
Yes.
Are you familiar with the properties surrounding and adjacent to those alleys?
Yes.
Relative to the alleys which are being requested to vacate, is it your understanding that the intention is that upon vacation, those alleys will be transferred to Neal Center to allow additional parking space for their community center?
Yes.
That's accurate?
Yes.
Okay. If the alleys were vacated, would it impact the access to any properties around or surrounding the alleys?
No.
Okay. Would the community benefit from the vacation of the alley, start that. Would the community benefit from the vacation of the alleys because they would no longer be required to do upkeep and maintenance?
Yes.
Are the alleys necessary for the village for the transportation infrastructure?
No.
Would the public be subserved from the vacation because they would no longer have to pay for the upkeep or maintenance?
Yes.
Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, I don't.
Any questions by the public for Mr. Harper? Hearing none. Thank you, sir. Anybody else present to testify in support of the petition? Hearing none. Is there anybody present to testify in opposition to the petition? Hearing none. I'll go ahead and close the public hearing.
Ordinance number 533. For discussion and possible approval of an ordinance vacating alleys. This ordinance is the vacation of 2 alleys which were the subject of the public hearing during tonight's board meeting.
All the necessary findings were provided within Mr. Harper's testimony that, for instance, if vacated, no properties would lose access. Furthermore, the public would benefit from the vacation because it would no longer be necessary to expend public funds, and these alleys are not necessary for the village. Based on the discussions with Jordan Harper previously, there is a need to reserve public utility and access easements across and under these alleyways for the construction, removal, replacement, and maintenance of the public utilities. And that reservation has been, the petitioners are aware of that. The petition provides accordingly, and the ordinance provides accordingly.
Need a motion to accept ordinance number 533.
I'll make a motion to accept ordinance 533.
Second.
Second.
Call for a vote.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, minutes from October meeting in 2017. Those are all in your packet. Excuse me, has anybody got any questions, comments, corrections, additions? Hearing none, I would call for a motion to approve the October 2017 board minutes.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
I'll second it.
Call for a vote.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Approval of bills payable. Bills to be paid.
Did you happen to have a copy of those that I can see?
Bills payable for November 2017. Comments, questions on the bills? Would entertain a motion to approve the bills payable for November.
I'll make a motion to approve the bills.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Pay the bills for November. Call for vote.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Superintendent's report.
Does anybody have any questions on my report? First of all. If not, the only thing that I have is that I was asked to get a quote from Roger on what he thought that the square portion of the sidewalks in front of the Neal Center, and then the new parking area that's going to be there, and then all the way over to the barber shop would be, which is going to be in the Neal Center project. But I think they're asking that we do as we did for the fire department and reimburse for the cost of that. So I've got those figures if you guys want to see them, and you guys can decide how you want to proceed with that.
I really thought Tony was going to be here.
Yeah, right back there.
Is that provided for
Well,
prevailing
you
wage?
slept in on me, Tony.
I'm sure it does, because the engineer figured it would be unit price.
I'm just making sure because it's been public funds, they're gonna need that prevailing wage. I just wanted to make sure.
He figured a $6 unit price, and then the one that we just had done was $5.32 unit price, so it's actually a lot higher than that.
Okay, just making sure.
But there's, you guys can look down if you want to. I made some scribbles and stuff on there too.
Has Tony seen?
I talked to him about it.
Okay.
I didn't even look him and hand it back to him. You can see that some of that, there's a reinforced 8-inch driveway pavement, which the village wouldn't have put that in, so there would be any need to, we should pay for that, I don't think. And then the demolition was also included already in another bid price for them, so. Those are just the figures that I was asked to present, so. That would be, I think the way we do it on the fire department was we just paid for the unit price of the concrete that it would have been. So that would be just number one there. And then I added all those up just because. Like I said, it's up to you guys how you proceed with it. I just got the figures, so.
That's it.
That was figured at the $5.32 that we just paid to have good owners do the rest of it. So, and these are just estimates. So there's no, it could be cheaper than that, I don't know.
So basically, this is just the same thing we did with the fire department.
Item number one would be if we would reimburse them for that. I've got an email here that was from Roger, and then the check amount showed what we did there, so we've got records of that. The cost for it was $4.95 a square foot, and then it was a lot smaller project, so it wasn't near this amount of money. And there again, they had an 8-inch thick drive that they poured, but we did not reimburse them for the entire 8 inches thick. We just did the 4 that we would normally pour, so.
Who's gonna do the construction?
I think Waltman, who's the concrete person, or have they decided to?
I don't know that the concrete contractor has been decided at this point. Waltman appears to be the general, not appears, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be Waltman.
Basically, I think for now, I don't know if it's just for your information, I guess, is that, what did you have in mind?
Tony, can you speak to what, when you and I talked about what you were, when you wanted this information, I guess maybe I was confused as to, was this just something that you needed to go to the Neal Foundation board with?
Yeah, to frame this, when we originally spoke with Jordan and to John about the project, it was stated that in the village had a plan to put sidewalks around the courthouse in that area, and that it made sense, and I jumped on. It made perfect sense to do it at the same time that we're doing the construction project. How that got done was really left up in the air, and then Waltman, of course, did the fire station, and so the conversation turned to do it the way it was done there, and that made perfect sense to us. Our project is coming to a head here. We go to the Neal Foundation Thursday for the final vote, and having a number will help us with our projections for final construction budget. So how it gets done, really, again, it doesn't matter. It's at this point, we can determine that later. But it makes sense. If I've got the contractor there, we might as well just do it, and that seems to, from my view, make it a little easier on the village. But at some point, you all weigh in on that, so, you know, tell us how you want it, but having this number will help me figure out what the construction budget, you know, the number I need to tell the Neal Foundation Board on Thursday.
Okay, that was the way I understood it.
So which number are we looking at on this paper?
Well,
Is it the?
if they're estimates, and if you're gonna do it the way you did with the fire station, it would be item number 1,
Okay.
would be that.
That's
And
it,
if you
right.
wanna go by the $6 price as of the estimate, or if you would go by the one that we accepted the bid for a couple months ago, it was $532. So, and I don't know how that goes, or if you wanna say, up to that unit price, you know, and like I said, it's just an estimate, so.
One reason the unit price is different probably is because of timing of when the project's.
Yeah,
gonna be.
well,
You have no
there's-
idea what
Yeah, you
it's
don't know
gonna be and
concrete costs involved.
whenever,
and everything,
right.
Which I was supposed to have a concrete cost number, but he didn't give it to me today, so.
But they're going to, they being Neal Center, is going to bid out the project and do the work, and the
Yes.
village potentially would reimburse. So you'll know that because you could add, if I were Neal Center, I would recommend that they add an alternate so that you knew exactly what that portion attributable to that portion of the project is, and then you'll have a better idea, because it's not the village putting the bid out, but the village doing the work. It's just a reimbursement. And alternates don't have to be accepted. You can make the decision at that time when you have a better idea, but this, you know, you're requesting an estimate.
And it could come in cheaper too. A little more expensive.
I was gonna say that.
So what do we need to do tonight?
I think from what I'm hearing, I don't think you need to do anything
Okay.
tonight. Neal Center's requesting this information so they can submit it to make an evaluation for their entire contract price. Correct.
Yes, that's correct. With one proviso, you know, you don't have to act on this at all tonight, and I wasn't expecting that. I was kind of wanting to know what we're talking about, money-wise. But there'll be a hole in the project if we don't have sidewalks. So I hope that if you know, that there would at least be a nod of the head that you know, that you would consider this in due course. If this is something you don't want to do, I need to know that.
Unfortunately, I do
Yeah.
not recommend a nod of the head if you're not taking action. You can publicly state what your leanings are, but I wouldn't take a round nod of the head, because I don't want to see any issues with violation of what's on the agenda.
And my intent was not to get you in trouble.
I know, I just,
However, it would be good to get a feel for where y'all are at.
Well, you mentioned Thursday, you meet with the Neal Center Thursday.
I do.
So it would be nice to have maybe a number to take to them then.
Well, I've got a range. Now the question is this a project that the village board would be supportive of? And again, I don't want to get y'all in trouble, but
informally, you can make statements. I would just, unless you know a definitive, I wouldn't take formal action in that regard. But you can, if you want to say that you would be supportive of the idea of proceeding and supporting, that might be appropriate. But we're not taking specific action at this time.
Well, I'm supportive of doing that.
Okay.
I see no problem with it.
Well, I support it. I supported the Neal Center since it first started, so anything that the municipality can do to help with the facility and to get it in place, I would work toward that.
Well, in discussing the sidewalk project, you know, around the square, we had talked about that not being done until
Right.
that was in place. So I think we have always said that we would support that
Yes.
part of the project, so.
And if I may, you know, from our vantage point, this is a municipality project, not a Y project. However, if we don't have sidewalks, we've got a bit of a hole, so, you know.
That'd be more therapy work.
There you go, that's one way to look at it, yeah, yeah.
Are we in agreement?
Well, we're not agreeing to anything.
I mean, that we support it.
Okay.
That we support it. That was what I was asking.
Okay. Is there a consensus?
I think the board consensus is we support the project.
So I think the direction then is to just have Neal Center provide the alternate, potentially include an alternate, but the final number you guys will provide for the
Exactly.
contract.
Yeah,
And
that's
then they'll
great.
take formal action at that time.
Good. If I can, I was gonna hit the road, but I'd be happy to, if you have any questions about the project. We're really hopeful. We take the final construction budget to the Neal Foundation on Thursday. Then next week, the Y meets for final approval. And we hope you'll see folks on the site next week. And then trucks on the site beginning the 20th is our hope. So far it's shaping up to be just a great project.
Sounds good.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Okay.
You want to discuss it? You want to?
Police report.
This is just for information, accurate, it's up to you. I got a letter in the mail stating that the part-time academy starts up in January. If we wish to send anyone, this will be the first academy we've had in 2 years. So it'll be a way to, I believe it's around $1,900, or it was when they sent me. And then when the person completes the class, they get the $1,900 back. It would be a way to get local officers that are more reliable for part-time help. I guess from there it's up to you guys if you wish to look into that or not. I'm just informing you that I got a letter that it starts in January.
There's a time.
Huh?
There's a time frame too where you have to get signed up, right?
It would have to be pretty quick, I believe.
Or you miss that for next year.
Well, this is the first one in 2 years.
Could be 2 years.
Has anyone approached you with an interest in it, Daniel?
I've had a
It's
couple.
in their hands.
Local guys who?
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm sure if we would put out applications, we'd get, or put out feelers that we were thinking about it.
So there is an interest.
Yes. But I mean, January is not far away, and from day one you have to do the power test. So, and if you fail the power test, you're out. So you'd need to give whoever you were thinking about time to be ready and trained to run a mile and a half and do all that stuff. So,
Your age leaves you out. Wait a second. No, that's not for part-time, just joking. That's it.
That's the worst thing that's said about me all week.
That was it.
Any other questions or comments, anything for Daniel?
We should probably find out the deadline for that pretty quickly, because I would envision, if it's anything like the other academies, I would envision that deadline's coming up
yeah.
quick.
I didn't want to proceed, if I didn't know if they even wanted me to look into it or not. I just got the letter this week.
Yeah, go ahead and find out what the deadline is and let me know or whatever.
Okay.
Treasurer's report.
Anyone have any questions on the reports? I have 3 middle of the month bills. Neil Tire for $52.80, oil change and air filter on the 2012 Ford F-250. Strafer, $4,300 for some pump parts for the lift station. And Gilbert Metzger and Madigan, $6,975 for the 2017 audit. And the auditors will be here next month with report. And I'd like to pay those middle of the month.
Need a motion to pay middle of the month bills?
Also move.
I'll second it.
Larry and Shorty. Have a motion and a second to pay middle of the month bills. Call for a vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Mayor, I have one question for Teresa.
Yes.
On the receipts on general fund, which one of those are quarterlies? If any of them?
None of them. We get monthly checks.
So every one of these is monthly.
The video gaming is monthly. Cable TV is quarterly.
Okay.
Your income tax, your prop is monthly. State use tax is monthly. Property replacement tax, I think, is every other month.
Okay. Thank you.
Now, this payment made by your cable, that was for a couple quarters.
Right.
Because they weren't making the required payment, so we sent notice and they paid it immediately.
Okay.
Any other questions for Teresa? Clerk's report.
The only thing I have is the annual tax levy. Anybody have a chance to look it over?
Questions? If there are no questions, would entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 535, annual tax levy.
I'll make that motion to approve ordinance 535. Tax levy.
Need a second?
I will.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 535, the annual tax levy. Call for vote.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. No.
Yes.
Is that all you had?
That's it.
Joyce? Any other questions
Any questions?
for Joyce? Okay, next on the agenda is Linda Robards. Discussion and possible action regarding Grant Avenue.
Okay. Well, as you know, by now, last month, but it couldn't be discussed because it wasn't on the agenda, so now it's on the agenda. Our major question to the village board members and village president is why there is issue this year. Grant Avenue, as I told you last month, was deeded over to the village. The village accepted this as a road, and it's in your board minutes, if you want to go way back there. By Keith and I were present that night when you accepted it as a road. You have been maintaining it for all these years. Then why is it an issue now? We would really like the answer to the question. I have been doing some research, continuing research with Right Away Agency, their lawyer. There is nothing that they can tell me that it is not a village road. You accepted it as a village road. When you accept it as a village road, can you say, Main Street, we're not going to have a village road anymore? It doesn't belong to the village? You've already accepted this road. The proof is the maintenance and using the village and the taxpayers' money to maintain this road. To oil it, to remove snow, to fill potholes, even looked into a tile situation. I was there when that was done. So I would like to know why, or why does too. We don't understand why this is an issue when it's been done all these years. So does anybody have the answer to me, or for us, please? No one has the answer to telling us why this is an issue.
Linda, I'm a little bit of hearing impaired on this end.
Oh,
But
I
did
have such
no,
a loud voice, Mary.
No, I heard you, but did
Okay.
you say that you was here when the street was,
When they accepted it as a street, we were at a board meeting by Whitaker, Keith Whitaker, and myself. We were at the board meeting.
okay. So I thought that's what you said.
Yeah, we were here. Yeah, that's what it said.
Has the village clerk looked into that?
We've looked and looked and we don't see anything.
Nothing was ever filed at the county.
Back when John Wilson was on the board and so forth?
We
You
went
go back that far?
Oh, we went back to when it first started, when
I'm
Carol
old,
and
I
George
don't
Harper
know.
built that house.
Okay, but this is what the right-of-way agency that I'm working with and their lawyer is saying. They work on this every day, every month, every year. This has happened in numerous areas. And they don't even go by the paperwork on right-of-way or easements because it's not there. And I mean, I would have got a statement, but I know that'd be hearsay or whatever. I don't know. I don't know the legal terms, and I didn't. But I talked to them again last week.
Okay.
It's not something I have not researched. I just don't know. Understand why is it a problem? It's been taken care of all these years. It's not a big major deal, you know. The road doesn't need rebuilt, you know, or anything like that. But I would like to know why it is made an issue. No one knows why it's brought up and it's made an issue? Because the next statements I made, it's going to upset some people here.
The only thing I'm thinking about, we have named that street. The village put up a sign. We had previously maintained it. We are accepting revenue from the assessed valuation of the properties on both sides of those streets. I assume, and I haven't asked this question, are you on sanitary sewer and water
Oh yeah, I pay sewer, water.
and gas?
Yes, I do, sir.
So, in my mind, I can't justify not being able to answer Linda's question.
That,
Unless it's a legal question that I'm looking at you to give us.
And there's an issue of legal question, and then there's the issue of what, that isn't necessarily legal, what it is that you want to do. Legally, the documentation that was presented to me does not support the legal dedication. So I advise that if the village wants to proceed to accept the road and do a legal dedication, which I don't believe is supported, hasn't previously been supported as to make a finding of legal dedication, because with the information that I have been given and the inability to locate any formal dedication document, there's no mention in the prior records. I advise you have two options. One option, to accept a dedication, and in order to do so, you'd have to prepare certain paperwork. Or the other option, do not accept the formal dedication and treat it like a private road, because it's not been, I mean, it's
All
my
right,
understanding that it hasn't been built to be.
Who needs to provide the necessary documentation to allow it to be accepted as a road?
There's many parties, not just the parties that are on the road. We haven't done, as I told you previously, we haven't done the full title work. We did estimates of title work that you would have to obtain from the title company. You'd have to prepare the formal easements that will be necessary, because there's no utility easements out there as well, correct, Jordan? There's
I know.
But utilities are back there, right?
dedication
Not
and
mains, there's private service lines.
the service lines.
Okay.
There is a,
The main to the meter is up on the road.
there is water meters back there, service lines.
Okay.
So you'd have to have easements, you'd have to have the certificate dedication and ordinances. So it's a, and then you did mention a potential for a survey in order to be clear as far as what exactly will be dedicated, because there's no record of what exactly the road is, the right of way is.
Do we have, Jordan, I'm gonna ask you this, do we have any of those records from roads that have been in existence for 50 years or more? I drove
They've
down.
been platted.
Huh?
Those roads have been platted.
Those roads have been platted, or we have covered alleys with a rock over the years.
Those have most likely been platted. So you know the distance because it's in the original plat or of the municipality or certain subdivisions of the municipality. So those distancing are already located within the plat. In this case, you'd have to get a survey to actually determine the right of way, and thereafter do all the dedication work and easement work. That
Okay.
would be necessary to do the formal dedication.
So this is what we need to direct Linda and Mrs. Vice sitting back there, what they need to do the correct thing to get this inside our delegate, or our responsibility.
If the village wants to accept the dedication, that's what would have to happen.
But if
What-
they go through all the steps that you have mentioned,
You're not required to accept the dedication.
and I understand why, wouldn't we not want to accept that?
That's a policy decision, not a legal question.
Okay, that's what I thought. All right.
That's why I said this is twofold. This is legal and policy. So,
Legal and policy?
policy, yeah, policy decision, you guys,
Policy,
as the village
okay.
board, make a determination whether or not you would want to proceed to accept the dedication.
Okay, my question again now is, why wasn't this done back when it was given to the village as a gift? The village accepted it back then, and you'd have to look in the board minutes. Why wasn't this done then? The
That
village accepted it.
documentation was not located as far as an acceptance.
Okay, didn't anybody look in the board minutes, go back in the board minutes?
Yes, that, no documentation has been located regarding a dedication and an or an acceptance.
Okay, let me ask a question. We've been putting rock on some potholes, we've been blazing some snow, and if we oiling roads and we got some left over, we oil that road, or that lane at some point.
At some point,
Not to say
I
that we
don't
do it
know.
all the time. What is wrong with saying, we just continue doing what we've been doing? Is that,
If it's private, my recommendation is not to do work due to liability concerns on village or on private right of way. It is because there was a request to do additional work that this issue came up. It's my understanding that the property owners asked for additional work to be done
Potholes.
in excess of what was normally done or not part of the village's plan at that time. That then caused the village to look into the issue. So, at that time, that's when it became, when village officials became aware of the issue of that there had been the formal dedication and acceptance.
Shorty, she's talking about me, and I asked that all the potholes be filled.
I don't know who I'm talking about.
You're talking about me, and
Yeah,
I
well,
came
not-
and I asked if they would please, fill all the potholes, if they were going to do it this summer, or I said, are they gonna be filling all the potholes, are getting pretty bad? And that's what I asked, potholes.
And he's trying to,
We did
record,
before.
so can we,
Street.
I don't, you can move around up to the mayor, but I just wanna make sure we're not preventing his ability to record, okay?
I think what brought it up was the street light. You wanted
Well,
us
I
to take
dropped
the
that.
street light.
I dropped it.
Well, that's what brought us into looking into who
Who owns
owned the
the street
property,
light,
because
owns
you
the
can't go to
property.
Ameren and say, we wanna add this street light.
I dropped that, I dropped that.
But that was why the issue was looked into, because the property owners were requesting something. So that caused the village to, as I believe is appropriate, to look into ownership of various things, including the streetlight and the road. And that's where it started from. And so then they just asked me, what's the legal issues, what's the liability issues? My recommendation is to not perform work on private right-of-way, because generally the right-of-way hasn't been constructed according to certain standards, and you have an additional liability component that isn't necessarily present on other public works.
So Linda, you got your answer. Why we can't do it.
Okay.
But you need to proceed with what?
No, I'm gonna proceed and I'm gonna say
Yeah,
the rest.
okay.
Why have I been called and asked not to come here tonight by 3 different people and to take this off the agenda? There is something going on. I don't appreciate it. And I was called, and I was even called tonight, and said, don't go up there and drop this subject. Now, it was said in the paper, you're not going to maintain it. I didn't even know it was being talked about, except I had someone come and tell me that at the village station, that someone said that there's no way in H that they were gonna take care of that road.
I know you're talking about me, and that is not what I said.
In front of 15 people in this community.
Okay.
And they
What-
said
the
that. Then
comment-
I had people calling me and telling me not to come here. This road was given to you by Alice Sherwood. You gracefully accepted it. You have been maintaining it. Now there's the issue of misappropriation of funds for all these years, because you say it's not a village road, it's a public road all of a sudden. So
Thank
then
you.
there's a big issue of that. No, I want to know why people called me, told me not to come here tonight, because something's going on. Is it not?
This matter was properly, I'm not even gonna say properly, based on direction of one of the council members. It was put on the agenda. She had every right to attend, and I don't believe any village action was taken to prevent attendance, so.
Wait, these were we have a board member.
I asked to have it put on the agenda.
And thank you, Larry, I
And you
really
asked
appreciate
me?
that. And I appreciate your comments tonight,
Okay.
because there isn't any reason for them not to continue to do it.
No,
You
I'm
know,
not
I
saying
mean,
it's
there's
wrong
no
to put
reason
it
at
on the
all.
agenda. I was saying the village board didn't take action to prevent her attendance today is what I was trying to clarify.
I guess I didn't hear. The board member that asked me not to talk.
Committee report.
The police committee met with the county to talk about possibly contracting with them to take over. And basically, they weren't too keen on the idea, so. They basically said three things: get something in writing they can look at, have a town hall meeting, or wait until a new sheriff is elected before they would take action on it.
I thought that might be, given the climate, that might be the response because there's the unknown as far as the sheriff. But if you want something in writing, that's a possibility. These are done by intergovernmental agreements, which the municipality has authority under the Constitution and municipal code to enter into these types of agreements, and other municipalities have done so, if that's an avenue you want to take. But I would also be concerned that they, even if that was prepared, do you have a feeling whether or not they would consider with any weight?
I'm not sure. I just got the feeling they didn't want to do it.
If we offered enough money, they would take it. And our coverage, well, and our coverage wouldn't be any more than it is now. It'd still just be one deputy on more than likely, and he may be in Hazeldale, thousands of dollars, and we're not really gonna have coverage. I mean, like I would like to see anyway. And I've not had, it's a very small sample size, but I've had 3 or 4 people approach me, and I've not had anybody be in favor of it. I've not had one person come up and say, hey, I think that's a good idea. It's all been, don't do it, we don't like the idea of it. But it's a very small sample, so.
So idea for re-advertising the position
No.
in the papers.
Even though we hired Daniel last month as
Temporary.
right,
I think we should pursue a permanent replacement.
There's a motion in a second for that, as action.
And I'll make the motion to publish the position.
On Daniel's temporary hiring, did we say 6 months?
Up to 6 months.
Up to 6 months.
there is a motion. I have a second.
I'll second it.
Have a motion and a second to publish notice in the paper to accept applications for police chief position. Call for vote.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
No.
Okay, vote fell.
Yes. President's report, I did get something that I just want to share with y'all from the Life Center of Cumberland County. May your Thanksgiving be full of happiness and gratitude. Wishing the best to you and yours. Joni, Sandy, Jane, and Sue. So, and some, I guess, probably some information of some of the things that they do. Different things that they offer for residents of the county and the village. So, and I have nothing. Trustees, any concerns?
On the north side of the square in front of the Democrat office, that street light doesn't seem to be working too well. The other night I walked around the square and it was awful dark over there. And
The one on the square?
yes, and then it finally did come back on, but if it's, something's not right with that.
Anything else? Public comments?
They're still right there.
Yeah.
Later. Yeah, no, after I talk to Laura. I'll do that.
Why did you want to say something?
Well, I could kind of would like to know if every street in this village has been dedicated, or is it just our street has to go through that? Has every street in this village been dedicated? Nobody knows?
It's a good question, because when I was over at the records office, there are several streets in this town named History Unknown, and people are not paying taxes on them. And so over at the records office, they said they were village-owned streets, and that's why they were done that. Well, that's what Grant Avenue.
I don't pay taxes on that. Linda doesn't pay taxes on that strip of land.
And when this first all came about and I started to do some research, that is what the answer I got over there. But I can get right-of-way agency closer here than the one I've been talking to, because you do not have to have paperwork when it's already been given to the city, just because it wasn't filed.
I don't understand why we are being singled out. Our street is being singled out and like persecuted, you know, when the other streets don't have a problem.
And we did drive around town, and we found, what, 4 other streets that they do plow out, that they do not have street signs on them or anything, but you guys do plow them out. So the question is, we need to know, are all these streets being dedicated? Because if not, then all the streets they need to be dedicated to and go through all the paperwork. Sounds like an excuse. You're gonna have to answer.
Aaron or Daniel one.
Aaron was next.
Okay. Aaron?
See, they're ignoring me.
Well, first off, I want to say that I had a conversation with Mr. Hanley, and while my initial presumption that his animals were inside city limits was correct, my second one, where our property lines, there's 2 different descriptions on file, and I was going by the furthest one, and there's also one that is shorter that possibly overrides the initial one that would make him correct on the second one. So I wanted to apologize to him about causing that extra issue, because from my initial spots, my measurements were correct, but from his, there was about 100 and some foot difference. Then the next thing I'd like to speak about is misappropriation of government funds. I'm curious, how come the village thinks it's okay to buy soda pop and bottled water and other personal commodity items with government taxpayer money? I found no provision in the municipal code that allows such a thing to be done, especially to the tune of right around $300 so far just this year. And it could be higher than that. There's a few things that was sort of gray that I didn't count. And I'm not exactly sure where you guys come up with that you could buy yourself soda pop and bottled water with the taxpayers' money, but there is actually a provision in the Illinois Constitution that makes that a felony. And I'd appreciate it if you guys would look into that, because you just approved another Dollar General receipt in tonight's Visa MasterCard, Dollar General, toilet paper, pop, and bottled water, $31.30. And I know I spoke to you guys a while back, at least to the two office ladies, and told them that that was illegal, but yet they're continuing to do it, which means that I'm going to take that as they don't think that it applies to them. And I would appreciate it if the board would give a little insight onto how they're doing this, because you guys keep approving it without even looking at it. And to me, that's a pretty big concern, because you're using taxpayer money, which is misappropriation of funds, for something that has been clearly stated as illegal by the Attorney General in several cases. You say no with your shaking of your heads?
I wasn't talking to you, Aaron.
I was referring to your lawyer here shaking your head no. Or was she responding to something else?
I was responding to something else.
Okay. Because I was very curious about that, because
But I also don't believe that it's misappropriation of funds.
how do you think you can spend the taxpayers' money for something that is a personal commodity item?
I've given my legal advice to the council and to the members of